Good morning, eighth grade, or afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. So hopefully you already did the Kahoot review for chapter one. This is just a little more. Basically, we're going to go through the vocabulary from all the lessons and then what you should know from each lesson, okay? So vocabulary, we have physical change, any change that alters the form or appearance of a substance, but does not change it into another substance. Chemical change is a change in matter that produces one or more new substances. A reactant is substances that undergo the chemical changes. Product, new substances that form from the reactant. A precipitate is a solid form. So new substances that form from the reactant is the product, and then a precipitate, solid that forms from liquids during a chemical reaction. So next we have exothermic reaction. The energy released as the products form is greater than the energy required to break the bonds of the reactant. Endothermic reaction. More energy is required to break the bonds of the reactants than is released by the formation of the products. A chemical equation is a way to show a chemical reaction using symbols instead of words. Remember that also could be called a chemical formula. Law of conservation of mass, principle that states that during a chemical reaction, matter is not created or destroyed. There always has to be the same amount of mass. An open system, matter can enter from or escape to the surroundings. Closed system, matter does not enter or leave. A coefficient is a number placed in front of a chemical formula in an equation. Synthesis, the reaction when two or more elements or compounds combine to make a more complex substance. Decomposition occurs when compounds break down into simpler products. Replacement, the reaction when one element replaces another element in a compound, or if two elements in different compounds trade places. Activation energy, the minimum amount of energy needed to start a chemical reaction. Concentration, amount of a substance in a given volume. A catalyst increases the reaction rate by lowering the activation energy needed. And then the last two, enzyme is thousands of biological catalysts that are contained in the cells in your body. And inhibitors, material used to decrease the rate of a chemical reaction. So from lesson one, just a couple things. Physical change versus chemical change. Remember, physical change is observed without it changing into something else. Chemical change, it turns into one or more new substance. Okay? A physical change, you can see temperature, color, texture, density, and conductivity. Chemical change, you are able to tell its flammability. The changes in properties were the formation of a precipitate, gas production, and color change. Chemical formula, substances at the beginning are the reactants. The new substances, when the reaction is complete, are the products. So think of when you multiply two numbers, we call the answer the product, okay? So this is the most basic, or the general structure that everything starts with is reactant plus reactant, transitions into product plus product. But remember, you can have one of a reactant or more than two of anything. And then remember, because mass is neither created nor destroyed, the reactants masses added together create the product. There was 4 steps to balancing equations. Step 1, writing the equation. Step 2, counting the atoms. Step 3, the use of coefficients to balance atoms. And step 4, to look back. We had synthesis versus decomposition versus replacement or double replacement. So remembering what those each were. Replacement, those things that start in the reactant and then the product, they're flip-flop. And remember, you can have double replacement where both things switch into the others. Decomposition meant we started with something, or the chemical for the larger chemical, and then broke it down into multiple pieces. Synthesis, you're starting with multiple pieces and building it into one big thing. And then we talked about determining the number of molecules in a product. I'm actually going to go to IXL here real quick. And we're just going to look through a couple other problems. So we're just going to go through a couple of these. I think I might have explained it to you wrong the other day. So I just want to re-explain it, make sure that that was correct. So we looked at multiple questions. So remember, the number of atoms in the reactant is always the number that's in the product. So we automatically can fill that in. Then it asks us to find how many molecules are created. So if it takes one molecule of the carbon monoxide to create one molecule of chlorine, or excuse me, one molecule of carbon monoxide with one molecule of chlorine produces some amount of phosgene. So nothing changes, so we're just going to have one there. Look at this one. We have 2 molecules of ethylene. Well, first let's fill in these. 2, 4, 2. Right, so we have 2 molecules of ethylene react with 1 molecule of oxygen to produce some amount of acetaldehyde. Okay, so I believe this is also just going to be 1 because all of our numbers are staying this theme. No, it's 2. Because it tells you 1 molecule of acetaldehyde is made of 4 hydrogen atoms, 2 carbon atoms, and 1 oxygen atom. And it's the only product. All the atoms in the products are arranged in molecules of acetaldehyde. Oh, and here we know that there are 8 atoms. Okay, so that's my bad. So basically meaning 2. So let's look at another one. So here, 2 and 2. So we have 1 of nitrogen that has 2 oh my goodness, 2 subscript 2, and this has a subscript 2. So I believe this one will be 2 now. There we go. Okay, we'll do one more. So we have 6 and 2. Now we have 1 molecule of N2 reacting with 3 of hydrogen, and we know there are 6 hydrogen atoms and 2 nitrogen atoms, so there must be 2 molecules of ammonia. Okay, so again, I apologize if I taught that to you wrong the other day. Let's go back here to our review. So, lesson 3, the last things here. An endothermic reaction will finish with more energy than when it started. Exothermic will finish with less. And then factors that can affect rates of reactions include surface area, temperature, concentration, and the presence of catalysts and inhibitors. So that is all for the review. Watch this video as many times as you need to before you go take the test on Edmodo. If you're still having questions on anything, let me know. Have a great Thursday.